Okay, welcome to the Newcastle Board of Fire Commissioners monthly meeting for April 18th, 2024. I'd like to ask Nancy Zezzi for the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Silence for the suit, please. Okay, roll call. We have all commissioners, plus one that was excused for personal issues. And which reasons attendance. Okay, correspondence. Do we have any correspondence, Christine?
There was an email sent last month from Mr. Nicolason requesting the financials and the recording of the meeting. I corresponded back with him and gave him what he was looking for, pointed him to where it was on the website, and he said that he got what he needed, and that was it.
There were two other pieces of correspondence. One, Christine, I gave to the updated info request from the Westchester County.
Oh, yes, I did reply to them and they responded back that
Okay.
it was all set.
Okay, good. And the other was the invite from Millwood for their inspection. It was sent to all commissioners, so please respond if you haven't already.
What was that sent about?
Well,
I don't
2
know.
weeks ago,
Yeah,
and
I
it's
got it.
next
April
Saturday?
27th.
April 27th, yep, next Saturday.
Okay, chief's report.
Alrighty. Wanted to just double check on the bill paying process. If there's been any changes to that. I know we're playing catch up with some of the older bills and some of the invoices. I think everything that I had pending, I've submitted, plus I did send you the 2 invoices from First Responder Warning Systems for the work they did on my truck for my dash lights and work they had done on, then the truck was designated 2062, but it's now 2063, just to make sure that those got paid, because again, mine is a new one, but the previous one was a few months old when we were in flux with regards to the treasurer.
Okay.
But historically, Robin had asked me to send all my bills in like a week ahead of time, which wasn't always feasible. Is that still the process that I need to try to get them in a week ahead of time, or I have to wait until the following month?
I would say send them in as soon as you can. It's convenient. I don't know what our treasurer is going to ask for, but I'm assuming that he's going to give you the latitude of sending them whenever you have the opportunity.
And in cases like this, I mean, prior to Robin, the chief would submit their bills at the meeting and a check would be cut and handed to the chief. That went away when they went to QuickBooks because I guess they couldn't cut a manual check. So I'm just really looking for some clarity since the treasurer's not here. I don't know.
He's coming later. He has another commitment right now, but he will be in later.
He actually asked that invoice processing be an agenda item.
Yeah, so if you're gonna be here for the duration, maybe we can talk about it when he gets here.
So the invoice, the $569 that I submitted, has that been paid yet? Or a check written for me?
I don't know yet. When he comes, we can answer that. I don't have that.
Okay, because I really, if I have to get the information in ahead of time, I would really like it to make sure that a check is available at the meeting, because keep in mind, the chief's fund is strictly a dollar in, dollar out account. I don't have a cushion per se. One of the other items is water and Gatorade was
Yeah.
something
What was the 569 for? Was that
on my
with,
chief's report.
no, but so it wasn't the NFPA licenses, because that should have been,
No, it's just, like I said, this
Okay.
is my current,
I'm just making sure it wasn't that, because that one was cut.
so water and Gatorade, Owen used to always order it through Croton Farms.
Correct.
Chief's fund would write a check for Owen, who would be taken care of. Robin wanted everything centralized under her, so they insisted that we get the check, that we submit the invoice from Croton Farms. Croton Farms wants payment right away. This is Owen's relationship with the vendor, and they are cheaper than going to WB Mason or, not Staples, but I can't think of, so one of the other large suppliers. But the problem is, so that I wrote a check for Owen to cover that for him, so that his relationship with his vendor wasn't askew. So that's really where I'm kind of looking for some clarity as to, do we go back to what type of guarantees do we have that we submit an invoice from a vendor and 24 hours we get a check so that we can pay the vendor? That's kind of where I'm looking for.
From working with Mike for the last month, Mark, sorry. From working with him for the last month or so, he's been really reactive and works to get us checks as soon as he can. He stopped by in the middle of the week to drop things off and get signatures and stuff. So when he comes, we can get a little more clarity on that and find out what we can easily work with him on and get that squared away for you. Because yeah, we want to make sure this is a smooth process for all of our vendors. We don't want anybody to be humped up, chief staff included.
Now the recording of the district meetings, I see you've got the owl going. My expenses for the month of water and Gatorade, as I mentioned, and that's something that normally does not get charged against my line item, which again, I hope Mark would be here to explain, because that's something, the water in the building, it's not potable, and it's also something we use for rehab of fires. And refreshments for the Mount Pleasant Chiefs dinner. That's one of the few refreshments that are, because we host the Mount Pleasant Chiefs every March, and that's something that the board usually, I don't believe it gets charged against my chief's discretionary line item. Total of $569.79. March, we had 20 alarms. Future dates, May 19th is inspection. And a couple of things very quickly that are not on the report. So from a technology perspective, we need to replace the kiosks that we use for palming into Red Alert. They're currently running on Windows 7, which stopped being a supported software around 10 years ago. The one upstairs in the volunteers room is starting to fail. Chief Lang did get a price quote on them. Give me a moment. All right, so replacing the kiosks, $4,550. For the backup batteries for the server in the chief's office, it's another $896. And that's probably larger than we need, but in looking at it and discussing it with Greg, when we go to the centralized server room in the new building, these can easily be ported into that, and it would support all of the technological infrastructure that will be in the one server room. I mentioned before the meeting had started the issue regarding backing up our servers virtually. Greg did get a quote from Vincent for that, about $129 a month, 500 meg worth of storage. I definitely think it's meg, 500 megabytes, bigger than a gigabyte.
It's not bigger than a gigabyte.
I did correct it, gigabyte.
Okay.
500 gigabytes of storage.
Gotcha.
I did ask Greg to double check if there was any issue with regards to the amount of data that's been flying back and forth with the plans. But since our email server is already stored up in the cloud, it does not impact what's physically stored on the servers unless you're downloading things and saving it to the server. That being said, I'd like to propose creating a new position, or I spoke with Greg about this. Greg is an IT professional. The fact that we kind of missed the fact that storage was not included on the service that was being provided by the new vendor. I'd like to propose that Greg be the chief technology officer, for lack of a better description. But because he knows technology, he knows everything from desktop to laptops to servers, etc., that he be deeply included in conversations, even as far as reviewing quotes, reviewing service agreements, to just make sure that what's there is needed and whatnot. He and I have gone through. We had a lot of overkill upstairs. We had a few things that were not even being properly maintained. And he stumbled on a couple of other things that he's worked with Charlie on. But as Commissioner Roush is, a finance professional as opposed to an IT professional, I think the board would really benefit from using Greg in that capacity for not making the financial decision, but reviewing the information and reporting back, this is good, bad, or otherwise, and something to be considered.
So just for my knowledge, are you suggesting that he be on the chief staff or in the department staff, but a liaison for IT related issues?
Yeah,
Okay.
from that perspective, for sure. Yeah, that anything that you would want, could definitely come through, Nancy as the liaison to the department. But I think we really, particularly with what we're looking at going down the road with the server room, with the new infrastructure and where we're looking for Wi-Fi connectivity throughout the building, different things along those lines. Just as your expertise is telecommunications, from an IT perspective, I think we'd be well served to utilize Greg in that capacity.
Yeah, I'm behind that 100%. I reach out to him periodically for questions, department related.
Yeah.
And he's always been an invaluable resource.
Yeah, and he's very practical with it. I mean, he's not looking to spend money just because get us the news biggest and brightest.
No.
And we've had some very practical conversations about where we can cut a few things where we don't need some of the overkill that was there and what we can do to clean up some of the machines upstairs. And he's got a very good working relationship with Wayne, which is very helpful because he does control, the whole infrastructure as well, so. The last topic, well, really two things tied together. I went to the Westchester Chiefs meeting last night. The email I sent the board about the fire districts, April 26th, 27th, or 27th, 20th in White Plains. At first blush, they said it's focusing on recruitment and retention. But I think if you click that link, it'll give you more of the agenda for those 2 days to see what's apropos for you as a board. I strongly recommend there is so much communication and traffic going on regarding the OSHA changes that are coming down the pike. The OSHA has extended the comment period another 45 days. FASNY, New York State Chiefs, are all encouraging everyone to continue pushing for further extensions. As they're wording it, they want a seat at the table. They want to sit down and talk with OSHA about, for us, not so much, but for more the rural departments are really going to be hit very hard with a lot of this information. I've been working very closely with our medical provider to find out basis the current OSHA guideline versus what's proposed, where we fit within the mix. We're in a pretty decent position. There still may be a cost increase per firefighter for the physicals to make sure that it is 100% compliant with an NFPA 1582 standard, which is what everyone is holding us to. There are a few areas that it's a little gray. Some of the counsel that I've been receiving from other departments as well as the fire districts are, this is going to fall down to almost a best effort in many cases where we have to show that we're doing our best effort to comply with whatever the final changes are, that the reality is we are not going to be able to abide by everything. For instance, one of the things they talk about is establishing a safe perimeter at a fire scene. Well, when you've got 12 firefighters engaged in firefighting activities, who do I then choose to go establish a perimeter? Now, loosely, Newcastle police are phenomenal. And I sent a note to Chief Carroll about Detective Charletti and Officer Dean, who were fantastic helping us at the fire the other night. And that's the type of relationship we have where they can help us establish that perimeter, keep people out, etc. But just by way of example, that's not something that practically is going to be able to be done. But there are other things that the district, as the entity having jurisdiction, as well as the fire department having the operational jurisdiction, are going to need things such as fitness. It sounds like it's fitting right into what I've been complaining about at department meetings. But we're going to have to make some upgrades to our fitness center. I know at this point that the fitness center up here in the new building is kind of on hold, because it's more of a phase 3. Depending on what you end up doing with Center Street, you may have to figure out how you're going to be able to support a fitness center. And then within fitting that fitness center, we have to designate someone who is a fitness trainer or a professional. Now, again, working with Interstate, saying, can we come up with something where this is a new business for them per se, where they actually look to us and say, great, for an interior firefighter, they should be able to do 10 push-ups, 10 pull-ups, kettle carry this far, whatever the case might be. Again, we're a bit of ahead of the curve because we require all of our interior firefighters to do the TOAC course every year, which is a pure fitness showing you what you can do. We're looking now to how to augment that to include exterior firefighters. And as you've seen, we've actually transitioned now where the exterior firefighters are being more engaged and more active in training, and that's gonna have to continue. Decontamination of gear is extremely important. As we know, cancer coverage is extremely important. We're in a very good position with the infrastructure we currently have in place. But I think one of the things we do also need to be cognizant of is that, yes, we have a new building coming. We've spoken to the public. We need this building for proper decontamination and protection of the firefighters. But short of that building, we still store our gear in the bays. We don't have a functioning shower in the first floor for someone to do a proper decon. So there's still some areas for improvement. And I think there's things that we have to look at if for any reason the project is delayed outside of, say, 18 months. We're going to have to look at some possible solutions to what to do within the current structure to make sure we're providing, because if someone comes in because we file a claim for a firefighter, God forbid, who develops cancer, all right, well, what have you done? Well, we've got this new building coming. What have you done? And that could potentially be something that rears its head for us. So I strongly encourage all of you, I will send the link back out as individuals, and possibly Christine representing the board can request a further extension to the comment period. And the other half of that is we're starting with inspection season. As you mentioned, Millwoods had come out. I strongly recommend whatever inspections the commissioners get invited to, at least 2 of you try to make it there to continue networking with these other commissioners and these other people in the fire district. We're all facing the same issue. The chiefs are all having very animated conversations. Greg Santone and I are working very closely. How can we kind of work on things or partner things together? As a board and as the legal entity, I think you guys really need to do that as well with your neighbors and start to get to know them a little bit better. It's easy for us to deal with Millwood because we're all friends with them, but dipping down to Pleasantville and Thornwood, Armonk, or North Castle rather, and Mount Kisco should be something that we look to start doing at the board level as well.
Good idea. Good idea. I like that. Anything else?
That's it for now.
I think we have one more thing, don't you?
Oh, yes, we had elections. I keep forgetting that. I see, I don't want to do another year. No. At this month's meeting, the membership voted for myself as chief of the department, Greg Lang as first assistant, Mike Zezzi as second assistant, captain position is vacant, Ula Alman as first lieutenant, second lieutenant is vacant, and third lieutenant would be Matthew Buchanan. Basically the same slate that we had coming into the election. Mm-hmm. So it's your pleasure to accept or reject the slate.
Okay. I'd like to have somebody make a motion that we accept the slate as Paul just did.
I make the motion to accept this slate. I'll second that.
Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Congratulations.
You only have 12 more months.
On the record, though, I have to abstain from Mike Zezzi, but
How do they say it?
Yeah, exactly.
Guys,
Oh, and last thing, I just saw John Maderas pull in. We took the expired gear, those 2 gasoline powered fans that we no longer use, as well as those box lights. He just took them over for donation to the
Which lights
Dominican
were they?
Republic. The old box lights that we removed from the apparatus and you put the new ones in.
Oh, yes, he says, I was thinking of the gen lights. Okay, fine, sure, great. Okay.
So those are out of, and we will continue working on cleaning up the closet. Anything that we think is historical, that might look good as some type of a display in the new building, we'll keep. If we've got 10 of something, we'll maybe whittle it down to 5 or 6.
One thing that John asked for, I think he wants to make a trophy out of it for somebody, is an exhaust tip from one of the trucks, a chrome plated exhaust tip that I think a curb got too close to it or something. He went looking for it a few days ago. If you see something like that, let's save
Sure.
it for him.
You have to be careful. The curbs in this town tend to
I know,
jump out
just
at you.
jump right
It's
on
awful. But yeah, we'll keep an eye out for it.
You need to vote to approve the expenses,
Okay, can you read off the totals again? Do you have them?
569.79.
All right, I'd like to get a motion that we vote on, I'd like to get a motion on the expenses for the chief's fund reimbursement.
I'll make that motion.
Okay,
For 569.79.
you want to second that? Mike?
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, great, thank you.
Does that include the 129 a month expense for backups?
I don't think that's part of it yet.
Mhm.
No,
Yeah.
that's not part of mine, that would come out of you guys.
Oh,
That'd be something.
That'll be
that-
billed from
that's
A1.
Wayne's company, but that'd be something they would bill you guys directly for.
yeah, because I think Greg Lang was asking about that,
Yeah.
For approval.
He was having a conversation with Wayne while they were finishing up. What they've done the work in the chief's office incrementally. They've added new things and we slowly started taking things off, basically making sure nothing broke, particularly since we had older versions of software. He and Wayne have been spending a lot of time together. As they were talking, the topic of backup came up and Wayne said, oh, it'd be about $130 a month. You guys currently don't have that. That prompted Greg's conversation with yourself and Charlie to say, hey, this is something we really should do. And I just brought it up as part of the overall technology conversation where I'd like to steer Greg to be as intimate with you guys as possible.
Between now and the next month, all of us that are inclined to work with Greg on this technology, backup for our software.
Yeah, for 500 gigs. Yeah.
Is A1 giving an accounting of what they're charging? Because you all prepaid
We do.
their expenses, so they should be giving an accounting of
I,
where it's all going.
I. I haven't
Because
seen it.
I still can't print,
All right, well,
so I think they do need to focus on the district
simple stuff.
needs as well.
I think maybe I'll call it a new business model or.
Yeah, maybe they're sending them to Mark as treasurer, I don't know, but
All right, I'm gonna call Wayne or maybe Vincent, see where we can get with that. Okay, anything else before we move on?
Mm.
Okay, approval of the minutes from last meetings. We have minutes from, March 21st, 2024 meeting. Has everybody had a chance to read through them? If we have any questions or concerns or changes? Okay, I'd like to get a motion. Well, let's go through all, if it's okay, we'll do any vote and we'll approve them all in one shot. We also had a meeting on the 25th of March. We have the minutes here. Anybody have any questions, comments, or corrections? All right, and we also had a meeting on the 13th of April. Anybody have any comments on the minutes as taken? Corrections, updates? Okay, so none heard, so I'd like to get a motion to approve these minutes as distributed. Unless somebody has a comment on them individually or collectively. All right, a motion to approve.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from all the previous meetings.
Anybody have any second on that?
Second,
All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
thank you.
Okay, next, committee reports. Okay, so I'm sorry, I'm not ready. I had my sheet here, but I guess I refiled it someplace. Let me do this. Let me jump ahead. I'm gonna ask Commissioner Frank, would you go while I'm looking for my printout, please? You report for last month? Your committee reports?
Oh, no, oh, yeah, okay, so we had a special meeting where we approved the plans, so that's good. And I think it's the 22nd, is the 22nd is when,
The
Bids.
bids are going out on the 22nd,
Right.
which is Monday,
yes,
and they are due May 20th.
and there's a possible.
There's a pre-construction walkthrough on May 6th.
That's pretty much the report.
Thank you.
What time is that walkthrough? Is that the one at 1 o'clock with?
It's in the daytime, yes. I'll find out the exact time.
I do have a question. Now, when is the full set of plans going to be available for the membership to view?
Should have I'm sorry. All right, let me call him in the morning.
Okay.
Christine, do you have his email information? You sent him?
I do. I email him a lot.
Can you ask him when the full set of drawings will be available to us?
I think I'll ask Caitlin that question because I think
She's not available for Zoom. but-
she said the week of this week
Yeah.
with the wet stamp, which is like a ridiculous phrase,
Oh,
to
stamp.
be submitted next
Right.
next
So
week.
a set for the membership to be available to the membership and whomever would like to view them.
Yes.
Okay, anything else? Ed?
No, that's it.
Okay.
The walkthrough doesn't have a time, actually.
Did they actually create, set a time?
They may have in the bid notice that I got today. I just have to look, but I'll let everybody know.
Okay, Commissioner Roush is excused tonight, so let's go to Commissioner Soldo.
First, I want to thank Paul for filling out that, Globe Gear giveaway, for the, fire gear. I know it's probably a long shot for our department, but you gotta be in it to win it.
Oh, we crafted it well, so hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of.
Throw in there that we protect a president and former secretaries.
I saw that.
Did you get a letter?
Yeah, really.
They may say have them pay for it, but I just want, Paul, the status of that gear, is it in?
I sent a note out to them just tonight as I walked in. It was supposed to be shipped from Globe on the 12th of April. So I
Right.
believe it goes from Globe to AAA. They validate that it's everything that was ordered. Since they have all the measurements and details, then they drop it off to us. Tomorrow is our normal AAA delivery, so it may be here.
And I didn't see any other orders from you, so.
Yeah, we really haven't had, I think a couple people went for some pieces of uniforms. I know Mike and Greg had to go get the additional stripes sewn on their uniform sleeves, so you'll probably see something from New England uniform on that. We are looking actively for a new vendor there. Nice bunch of guys, but they're so overwhelmed, and usually anytime we need anything, it happens to coincide with either Yonkers or White Plains graduation, and they're just buried with
That's one, too.
their uniforms, so.
Okay,
Okay.
I did find the time for the walkthrough. It's at 10 a.m.
Kenny.
Again, the date of the month, again?
5/6. Which is a Monday.
At 10 a.m.
Mhm.
Okay, Commissioner Zezzi?
Okay, we have a lot of activity with regard to the house. We moved the shorelines in the lower bay pursuant to a request by the chief, so hopefully you guys are happy with that. The stair lift, the contract has been executed, we paid the deposit, the equipment has been ordered, and we hope to have that in next week or the week after. We had to file a permit, a building permit with the town, and that's all been taken care of. You should have mentioned, both of you, that we began the clean out of that storage room in the lower bay area. Much progress was made. So I think that's good to go pretty much.
Do you
Except
think,
the first floor.
well, I know we had kicked around the idea, but I don't know if we ever finalized a yay or a nay on a dumpster. So I'm thinking of, we also have all those tables in the basement that are mildewy that we use for open house.
Right.
So start to get some of that stuff out, and then we can use it for, there's also too, suburban cars, you're gonna start to get annoyed at that overflowing dumpster if we keep doing it regularly. But if we just get a dumpster for, you know, a week and a half while we're doing inspection cleanup, we can kind of multitask. While people are here getting dirty, they can get dirtier and throw a few things
I
out.
think that's a good idea. We can keep it here as long as you want.
So,
Fill it up, we just get another one.
you know, just put it up in the back, and because we started moving the stuff down the Center Street that blocked that roadway that's coming in. But like, we've got that old cement mixing trough that we used to use for open house, but since now we've got the electronic version, we can throw it out.
Yeah.
You know, the smoking,
Yeah.
50 feet from the building.
Those tables downstairs, they're really nasty. Some of
Yeah.
them predate my
Completely.
apartment.
And
So I would like-
previous administrations had declined to let us use the ones upstairs for open house. We had to keep those,
Yeah.
but I think we may be in a different frame
Yeah.
of mind now, so.
So the ones that are downstairs, I don't know if anybody else has been down there lately, but they are in really bad shape. I mean, you really need to worry about getting splinters or nails or metals.
Just being realistic, you're not gonna use them.
No,
So might as well get rid of
I
them.
think we have.
That was my thought process. I mean, that kind of justifies the dumpster just in and of himself. We throw those in. And I'm sure there's more stuff in that lower basement that we
Yeah.
can, while we've got the labor force throwing stuff out, we may as well just keep plowing it.
As long as the labor, last Thursday, I think it was, we had something going. That worked marginally well. There was also a conference call I was on that was kind of hard to pay attention to both. So, I'm not saying we need to have it on a different day, but I think maybe we can talk about it before we do it. I think we talked about it, but I didn't realize it was a conference call that night, so it's kind of on me. But I would like to do that again. That worked out real well. We had some good people that were helping.
Well, my thought was
Okay,
now the
yeah.
inspection cleanup starts Monday night, so we're gonna be here Monday through Thursday. Cleaning everything, so I can always, depending on the attendance.
Yeah.
Sacrifice a person or two.
Okay.
To start, to continue doing, some of that work, and I know that you had mentioned to my daughter that some of the firematic stuff, you want to leave it more for the chiefs, and that's fine.
Yeah.
We can go in at any point in time and say, yeah, let's keep some of this stuff to make a display in the new building, this other stuff, we really don't need 16 of the same thing.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's how we managed to collect that nice batch of stuff to go to the Dominican Republic,
Yeah.
so, we can continue to do the same as we find stuff.
And if it's just trash stuff, we can either dump it in the dumpster or
Right.
we can, if somebody was motivated, they can take it down to Brookfield, depends on the dollar, it's brass, come up.
So does the board agree with that suggestion and allow the chief and myself to order a dumpster for,
Yeah, Sunday.
everybody agree? Good?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, so we'll work on that.
Doing it this week, is that,
I'll work with.
yeah,
Park user.
Okay, the new landscaper began, working with us, hopefully they're happy with the work he's done so far. Yep. Over at Elm Street, so we had a couple of situations at Elm Street with the lighting. The poles that the old lights were on were rotted to the ground, there was exposed, wire over there, period. So that's all been done, the lights are now LED, the poles were, replaced. So take a walk over there, just to see what's been done. So in doing that, we ran into a couple of situations with the neighbors. So some of the encroachment onto district property has been addressed. And, while we were talking about, we also made them aware of the timeline for the building. So it was a really good working relationship. The situations will be resolved. Some of the dirt that's eroded away due to certain, conditions that were presented over there will be done on May 1st by our landscaper. But it was nice to let them know what was going on. So I think it would also be a great idea for the committee to go speak to the people over on the other side of the building and let them know what the time frame is. They were very appreciative, by the way. The people were,
these people over there, for cars.
the car, yes, well, yes, if you could speak to the Mr. Carlock, yes. But Elm Street neighbors have been taken care of. And Westchester Tree Life has, offered to do some tree pruning over there for us at no charge. The trees on the north side, and northeast side of Elm are going to be cut down. They're in the town right away. They're dead. So they've already come and looked at those trees. They do create a hazard and they'll be taken care of. Our mason will start work in the front, part of the upper base with that deteriorating, curb and other work as soon as the weather permits, gets a little bit warmer. That V Fire grant, I'm working on that and it will be submitted before next Friday. We'll see how that goes. Again, there are fire departments working at a barn, so our chance, as Mike said, you gotta be in it to win it. Department liaison, I think we're working very well together.
Yes.
Things are going well. I just wanna. I know. I just want to thank you and your crews for the great work you did at that working structure fire down on Joan Corwin Way. You guys did a great
The
job.
best part about it, they saved the 2 dogs.
Yes,
Robbie, the fire marshal, went there the next day. The structure is a whole different story. But the dogs were running around the yard. They were happy as can be. The one piece of equipment we are ordering, we currently have 1 canine oxygen mask that's on engine 144. We didn't bring 144 to the scene and there was a miscommunication when we brought the rescue. They just brought oxygen. So we're ordering a canine mask for each of the apparatus. And I may look at supplementing. I think one of the trucks may need oxygen still, but we have enough members who are EMTs or EMRs. I think having the oxygen for a case like that would be, but Madison Martineau, the chief from Pleasantville, did a fantastic job keeping that puppy going until we got the oxygen into it. So
well, good. You all did
Yeah.
a great job. Nobody got hurt, which is
everybody went home. That's always
Yes.
the one.
I just want to also let you know with regard to the stair lift, I just want to backtrack a little bit. I did create a policy and I distributed it. Just want to know if it's okay, if it has to go before the department, how do you want to do it?
Yes,
Keep both
for
of-
something such as that, I don't think that doesn't impact the members per se. It's I think it's your building. That's the type of policy I think you guys put in place what you want it to be, and that's what it should be. The ones that involve membership participation and that impact them differently, I think those are the ones we need the conversations about, but.
Are you asking for approval of that?
I'm asking, yes, if that's sufficient for now, and then, we can always adjust it.
I like it. Anybody have any comments about the?
That was great, great.
I thought it was terrific.
All right, good, thank you. So that's good.
Can you send it to me so I can?
Sure. Insurance. We have had a couple of issues. I'll leave it at that. Everything's been taken care of. They've all been addressed. Everything's up to date. All situations have been remediated, and I'll leave it at that. Just make sure I think at this point. I do have one suggestion, and I just want to leave this as an open comment. We had a situation where we had a work session, then we had to schedule a special meeting with regard to the building, so it delayed the outcome and the vote for a couple of days. So I just want the board to think about changing the work sessions to special meetings going forward for the rest of the year, because with the onset of the construction happening, hopefully, rather than delay maybe a vote or some kind of decision that you might have to make all those work sessions special meetings. And then you can take a vote, yes.
You want to just start the meeting at 6:30?
I think she's talking about Kevin's project
Oh,
meeting.
Yes, yeah, but your work sessions, change them to special meetings, and then you can take a vote on any matter that may come up.
I think that's a terrific idea. Anybody have comments?
And again, being a cheapo, it also saves the additional expense with regard to advertising for those meetings, et cetera. So this time you'd only have to do the one-time change from work
Well,
sessions.
you don't have to publish them in the newspaper, so there's no expense.
Right,
However,
yeah.
they're posted.
Okay, just so then you can take a vote at those.
Can you do that for us?
Mhm.
Great.
Okay, that's it for me.
I do have one thing on the liaison, so I did give your district email address to Stafford Garson. He's the developer who purchased the Lutheran church and going back into the upholstery shop. He's got some development plans. One of the things that myself and Robbie from the fire marshal perspective requested was a staircase from Center Street up to that corner of the L-shaped building that's going to be going up there. It probably would come down through what currently is district property. Didn't really think, since it's going to be something we would want, to get a hose line up there or be able to access that building. Because if you picture where Greeley House is, the driveway to this structure is going to be where the Lutheran church is, go in and kind of hang a right. So it's going to be an L shape where we will have difficulty getting apparatus in, but if we have access from down below on Center Street and a staircase that are climbing up the woods, that would augment it. So he's going to reach out to you just to make sure from a board perspective, there wouldn't be an issue if they, I guess to simplify, broke through the retaining wall, built stairs going up so that it would be a point of egress for people evacuating the building, but a place for us to run a hose line up through to attack a fire from that end of the building. It's going to be very similar in construction to 91 North Bedford Road, where it's got parking underneath and then 2 or 3 levels of residential housing.
That actually was discussed a number of years ago. From the Garcia brothers, they actually wanted to buy 1 or 2 of the parking spaces from us, the district, because the school district would not allow them to do any building down here. And they also talked about purchasing two spaces, and also about the same thing, putting a staircase up. And I got to look at my notes. The board had a lengthy discussion about that, and they decided not to do it. There were some liability issues and everything else, and that was an issue with Garson in general. One of the drawbacks of having that facility. But again, they did go to the school board. They said, no, we're not doing the property. And the district at that time, well, I'm not sure the reasons.
Robbie and I did a site visit. They kind of explained how they're going to be building the structure, showed some very preliminary plans. We pointed out, for instance, where we wanted the e-vehicle charging to be at the front of the garage. So if we had to pull a car out of the garage per se. And actually I work very closely with the building department. The legislation the town just passed the other night with regards to electric vehicles is something that we as a department had a lot of hands in working with them. So it's going to benefit us greatly as far as signage and hopefully to protect not just the firefighters, but the residents as well. So long story short, Commissioner, he's gonna reach out to you and you guys can take it from wherever it is, but I just want to give you the backstory as to
Okay.
what it was for.
Thank you.
Just one question about that. So we want to sell that Center Street building. So a new person purchasing that, who knows what they want to do with it? And would the new owner permit that stairway to remain? I mean,
I have no idea, you
Yeah.
know,
it
it's
seems
like I
a
said, that's,
legal thing.
you know, from the perspective of it's not my property to sell, you know, we were talking about it. I said, we would like to see a staircase coming down. He said, well, would the fire department let it go there? And I said, you'd need to speak with the board because they're the ones who are the one, you know, to speak.
What
to.
about the driveway going in? Shouldn't that be compliant for an engine to get in there?
Oh, we'll be compliant for an engine to get in, but because of the shape of the building, we probably won't be able to get a tower ladder all the way in. But when you look at it, and I never thought I'd use Pythagorean's theorem again, but from pulling a ladder truck in the front driveway, you get the first half of the building. And if I had a tower ladder down below, currently, if they're using Center Street, we would be able to. And to your point though, Commissioner, the part of Center Street is a historical landmark because of Greeley's Creek that runs underneath it. So I think that's going to be an impediment to development and what it can actually be used for. So I think for at least for the near term, we'll be able to use that as a point of supporting fire operations if need be.
I think what else, and again, I'll look to my notes. The major issue when they approached the board at that time was for a pedestrian walkway for the train, stored downtown, everything else. They didn't want to come down the side of the driveway, the side of the Lutheran church to come down that way. They want easy access down. Again, if there's residents up there that went to Bell School, their kids, the same type of thing. And that was pretty lengthy discussion. And again, I'll follow up, but liability became a big issue about the whole thing. If it was our property and somebody got hurt, somebody fell, who's, and I said, after we denied them purchasing 2 spaces, that became the issue, so, but whatever, boards,
It's such a legal.
Yeah, it sounds like we're gonna have to do a little research on this to find out where we wanna go.
Well, I will say Paul's 100% right. It is a historical landmark. And I don't think people realize that going through there. So it may impact the sale of that to a certain point. But just keep that in your mind. The other thing too is I have been also talking with Interstate with regard to the OSHA mandate. So I'm glad you are too, Carolyn and I. We spoke and we'll speak again in October. The other thing I just want to, I have had absolutely no information come through on the fire protection district renewals, contracts, etc. So I'm as up to date with that as can be. I haven't seen anything. And that's the end of my report.
It's my turn, yes. I'll try to make this brief. Colorado 2.7, the new Vulcan hand lights, they're Vulcan, right? Paul? Vulcan is
Yeah.
the style. Okay, Vulcan
Yeah.
hand lights have been installed. I think I mentioned last month that they, the bolt pattern to hold the bases, the charging bases were the same as the old lights, so that was a win. We had, this is on 2.7, not a 2.7. We also had some replaced on engine 146. So we're in good shape with new lights there. 146 had a very low tire on one of the inner 2 in the rear, past the officer side rear. It was only 20 pounds, and that's way low. It should have been up above 100 pounds, or 15 or 20 or something like that. And a couple of our members noticed it last week, and so we got on it. The outer tire was around 70, and that was still low. So I had Corsi Tire come up the next day, and found that a stem was loose, and they put an extension on it. No, it wasn't loose. They put an extension on it. They had to change one core, which is the valve core, and they put some sealant around the bead of the tires. They said one of the tires had maybe hit a curb or something, so there was a little dent in it. So they fixed that. I spoke with Hendrickson about the cab lift pump, and they gave me a price of about $1,500. So here's the thing, and we can have a discussion now if it's okay with you.
Sure.
What we're talking about is a pump, you push the button, you throw a switch, and the cab on 146 will tip forward towards the pump bumper. to allow access to the engine, transmission, belts, hoses, things like that. Right now, that pump is not working, and the only way to tip the pump, the cab right now is with a manual bottle jack. Takes a little while, but it's doable. I spoke with Hendrickson and I asked him how much it was gonna cost, and he said $15. So, the guy, the mechanic, Brian, what's his name? I'm forgetting now, I don't know. Anyway, we met with him. He said we don't have to do that right away. We don't have to put that new, the electric pump in right now. But he recommends it at some point because, as an example, if we need to pump the cab up, obviously the trucks would stop, nobody's in the cab, the air packs have been removed from the brackets. So it takes a little while to do it, but if that pump fails, we have no way to get it up. If a belt blows or comes loose or a hose gets punctured or something. So then what we would be done, we would have a problem where the truck is potentially immobile, maybe not. And then they have to potentially get some panels removed so they can get to this manual bottle jack to crank it up. So he says we don't have to do it right now, but he doesn't think that we should go very much longer without, it makes his job a lot easier too. So there's.
So if we're gonna need it, why not just?
Well, it's $1,500. So I'm trying to balance the need versus the cost, and we don't need it, but at the same time, it would make sense to have a redundant system of the electric version and the hand pump, which is what we have now only. So Paul, I know you had a comment to me earlier.
Well, I mean, from the perspective of, we don't do our own maintenance on the apparatus, so we don't really have a reason to be lifting the cab up of the truck. If a mechanic were to be using the manual jack and the manual jack fails, I mean, drawing a syllogism here, shouldn't the mechanic be able to address the situation? I.e. fix the pump or take a different bottle jack, a temporary bottle jack. I mean, ultimately, trucks are your responsibility. I'm not necessarily, from my perspective, we don't do our own maintenance. We very rarely would be, I think the only time we might tip a cab would be if we're on the older ones, such as 146. I think we have to flip something to go from heat to air conditioning, the way the motors are configured. But beyond that,
I was just thinking that it would make sense for redundancy, plus also if we're getting under there for any reason to clean the truck for inspection.
we don't tilt the cabs.
In the past, we have, maybe not lately, we don't.
Yeah, I mean, well, if I could offer a suggestion, why don't you wait and see till later in the year where you are for your budget?
I think
And
that's
if there's money in the budget, then go for it, in case we have another, because again, we are looking at, new apparatus. We do have to start looking to save for a chief's truck, because the current 2063 would be due to be replaced. So because that is the oldest in the fleet, so, there's other expenses coming up, operationally, I think. Take a look at where things sit come August. And if the time comes then, schedule the maintenance to have it replaced.
Yeah, I think we can do that. It's also a matter of lead time to get either the bottle jack replaced. And it's not just a simple bottle jack. It's a bottle jack shaped thing, as I recall, that you pump like this and it's got hoses, not just a bottle, cylinder going up. So there's more to it. Anyway, I think unless somebody has a strong, did you have a comment, Mike?
No, it was just like, when a mechanic works on that truck and has to open that up.
Yeah.
Without that pump working, is there do they charge additionally because the pump's not working, they gotta?
I think it's a small fee, maybe, let's say we work by the hour and charges by the hour, I don't know. It's not gonna be an hour-long time for them to pump it up, it'll take them 5 minutes or something, instead of, 1 minute to go with the month. So I don't know, I think I'd just as soon, save the money for now and just not spend it, but if push comes to shove, it's gonna be a little expensive because they're gonna have to take panels off to get to the thing that's now our only way to get it up, and, maybe have to buy it then, we'll see. Let's see what else. 155, a new single pocket charger for one of the fireground radios was ordered. It will be installed. I don't have any time frame for that. It comes in when it comes in. I'm sure you're aware that by the end of the year, they're going to stop using 4626 for paging and so on. So right now they're using 4626 for paging. What that means is they have this low frequency that pages out our members. They have a pager on their belt, and that's how they get notification. that there's an activity. And by the end of the year, they're gonna stop. So we have about 30 pages right now that are working on the new system on the 470 megahertz area. And I was talking to Chief Lang a week and a half ago, I think, and he was going through his inventory and I was thinking we need about 10.
Right, he and I spoke and we thought it would be the back order time for the 10 of the current Minotaur, what are they, 6s, whatever we
Yeah,
have.
for 6, yeah.
But they do have the other 5 that are the other style that have more functionality attached to them are available.
Yeah.
We're gonna go with 5 of those for the chiefs and officers. Kind of as a one to get 5 more into our inventory, but give us a chance to see how they work. And it also behooves us to be able to listen to the scanning function of it when we're not in front of our,
So
phones.
what apparently happens with these, the brand is called Motorola, top brand name is a vendor or distributor. They're about $100 more than the Motorola version 6. The Motorola version, if you push the button or turn the zoom knob just so, you can listen to what's active on that channel, but that's a paging channel. You can't listen to, like, for example, the chief, when he's out in the field, he wants to raise the pressure of the water. When he's talking, it's on a system called P25. The Motorola radio pages can't do that. So the new communication system does allow that, but it only allows you to either scan the fireground frequencies, or it allows you to scan and or listen to the P25 frequencies. It doesn't allow you to do both. So that's something we may want to think about. So I'm thinking about buying 5 of them. Try them out, as Paul said. One optional thing that we'll probably end up getting is the carry cases, because they have a display like your cell phone. We want to protect that display from getting banged around and fires or when you're working in the basement. So we'll probably end up going with that. They do come with belt clips. And I don't have a price yet. I haven't got the quote yet from them, but not for us. I've gotten a quote for a different department, but it's just showing what they bought.
I think also just make sure that it includes, I don't like currently when we do the programming of the Minotaurs, we're able to use a Minotaur charging pad plugged into a computer. I don't know if you need a specific charging programming pad for it.
I have them at work. I have those pagers at work, but I'm not fluent with them. We have a bunch of different frequency ranges and all that. And I'm going to talk to my coworker that does program them for us. And I don't remember if it's a plug that goes in someplace or if it's a drop-in charger, but I'll find that out. If we have to buy, an accessory, one accessory, so the chiefs can put frequencies in or scans or whatever it is. So we'll do that. But I'll get a price and I'll send it out to the board. That's really all I have, I think. Is that right? Yeah, so I'm gonna probably buy 5, but I'll let you all know what the prices are and so on. And I'll let the treasurer know as well. So the treasurer is here, but is he ready to talk to us about issues that he wants to bring up?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm gonna hand the floor over to you.
So you don't want to do old business first?
Well, okay, I mean, we can do that. You want to, we'll do some old business real quick? Okay, it's just real quick.
Keep the agenda in order.
District policies. Now, a couple of days, no, was it a week ago, week and a half ago? I sent out the district policy proposals from our legal counsel. And their proposals, some are, as you see, are in green, some are yellow, and that's color coding means some we have to do, some we should do, some we could do, things like that. I would like to suggest that we have a special session sometime where we can go over some of these things and pick and choose some of the areas that are most important for us to do and get this into the hands of the membership for their understanding and approval and so on. So does anybody have any days that they're available? Would like to suggest a particular day when we can have an hour or two to start this process that we've been neglecting for a while?
I think next Saturday is gonna be nice and cold, so that might be a good day.
Not this Saturday. You mean a week from this coming Saturday?
Yeah,
Why?
I don't know.
Well, I say the sooner
Yeah.
the better, because this has been going on for 20 years almost. Some of these, you don't have a choice, they
Yeah,
have to be
They have to
done.
be done.
So,
is the district reviewing and writing, or you're choosing which ones to have council do?
What happened is the council took our policies, current in place policies, and merged that into with, I think, I haven't written down, but I think he's merged them basically with mandates and another department that he has already done this for. And he has given us the preliminary, his recommendation is based upon requirements, state, federal, et cetera, and what is recommended that we can do, but we don't have to do. So I think what we want to do is we want to start someplace. So I think the first thing is we need a meeting, we'll start someplace and we'll get a path. So that we're not hanging over our head all this time. It needs to be done. It needs to be done sooner than later.
Right.
So does anybody have a particular date?
How about Wednesday?
This coming Wednesday? Is Wednesday good for you guys?
In the evening?
6 o'clock.
Is that all right?
That's fine.
Okay, Wednesdays are not good for me, but I will
So you-
be here. I'll make it. I'll be here. I have another meeting at 6:30, but I'll be here.
Do you want to do Tuesday?
No,
Is
no.
Tuesday
No,
work?
no. Tuesday is better for me, but listen, if Wednesdays are good for you, Wednesdays are good.
No, that's why we'll make it Tuesday.
Tuesday.
So make it Tuesday.
I won't be here, but you guys can discuss them.
Okay. If we have any notes to take.
Yeah, Tuesdays are never good for me.
Is Tuesday far enough out that you can notice it, that we're going to have a special meeting to discuss this?
Yep.
I don't think we need this executive session. I think crazy like that.
I think everything going
Yeah.
forward should be a meeting, so you
Yeah,
can take a vote.
Exactly. Okay, so it's a special, meeting, if we can do that.
At what time?
6. Tuesday. Is Tuesday okay with you guys, really?
Yeah, it's fine.
Because I can make it. It's just I have to avoid missing something else.
Actually, yeah, Wednesday I wouldn't be able to come, so Tuesday's better.
Okay.
I just go to something.
Tuesday? Okay, so Tuesday.
Might I impose and ask that when you do meet on Tuesday, part of what you do besides, deciding which ones are the priority, et cetera, is what is the procedure going to be for reviewing them? Because of what I'm thinking is if you're gonna finish, say, 5 or 6 at a clip, picking a number, inundating that to the department for the first pass might not be the best way to get feedback in a timely manner. So possibly after you've done your first review, we could have the chiefs take a quick look and say, you know what, this is from a practical perspective. Do we have any wiggle room on some of these things? Like, for instance, I think I sent you a couple of years ago, a proposal for a chief's policy.
Mhm.
Where it's made sense practically from a fire perspective as well as from a protecting the vehicle perspective. And I think that way, because right now we're starting inspection cleanup. So I'm gonna have people here every night and then having them say, okay, go read these 6 policies and come back with their feedback. You see how from the ethics perspective, initially everybody had a lot of complaints, but they haven't provided anything further as far as feedback with regards to that. So I think it's better if we have the chiefs maybe take the first flush at it, have a conversation with you and just, very high level. This is kind of where our thinking is. And if you think it's reasonable, great, we can look to adopt it. If you're not sure, we got to go back to Michael, then figure out, okay, are we better to package everything we need Michael to review at once? So you're not sending it piecemeal and getting, billed every time he opens up an email, and come up with just a procedure for how you want to move forward with it.
Yeah, that'll be part of our topic of discussion. So I just, for my peace of mind, I guess, I don't know. Basically, if we have 5, if we had like 5, we can send them to you and you can review them and get back to us and we can move on to another 5 and we can.
Definitely, yeah, I'll commit to you, if you get, 5 or 6 to me, I will get back to you with some form of comments within 48 hours. Because I can squeeze a couple in during the course of the day. And look, if I'm running behind, I'll give you the courtesy of a note saying, hey, look, I'm not gonna have it for another day, but
You don't need.
I do know the importance of getting them done. I have written a bunch of them over the years for different boards, so I think we can kind of get through some of it, and again, taking Michael's, being perfectly blunt, taking what he did for another department, for us, is a bit concerning.
We will.
As far as just as far as now the volume of needs to be reviewed from, okay, he's merged must-haves versus what he did for someone else.
Well, it's.
Where do we know that line? But again, after your meeting Tuesday, then we can, you know, have a chat if, and see where you want to go with it, but that's just my initial thought.
Yeah. This is not a them versus us, this is us together. We want to make this policy.
No, completely agree. But like I said, my concern though is just like when we saw with the ethics,
Yeah.
that was strictly picked up from somewhere else and dropped down for Chappaqua. And it poses a number of concerns. We've got two members who work for the county and the state as training instructors. Where does that fit within this ethics policy? Can they be paid if they happen to be training us and they're at the training center? You know, there's some gray areas with some of it where, you know, we have some uniqueness to it. It's not that we're special, but you know, that we have some uniqueness to how we do things and what we've currently got in place. And I think we just got to find the happy medium.
Maybe you can, through the liaison, maybe you can pose a couple of those general questions so we can have that to think about when we get in that section, right? Okay, great. Any other district policies? No, okay. Website update discussion. Christine, I think you moved some stuff around not too long ago.
Yep. There's the thing we talked about on Saturday still has to be changed, but
Which
other
one was
than that, moving the stuff that's at the top to the bottom.
Okay.
Other than that, it's all
What's
updated.
there, if you tell them you want this done or that done, is there a lead time, a lag time for that?
It's usually a couple of days. It depends. They're pretty fast.
Right.
But yeah,
Any other questions about? the website?
I just think the more current info should be
Yeah.
right in your face.
Sure,
when you're
sure.
done.
As we put stuff up, it should be at the top and everything just pushed
Yes.
down. Okay, meeting, video recording discussion. Well, looks like we've got it right here. We've got an hour, like the read.
Will the recording be posted somewhere?
Yeah, it just, they have been in the past, this one will be as well.
there's a button on the website.
All right, project update. We have had discussions with our architect and the design team and legal staff. And we have decided to move forward with the drawings that they have most recently given us. And they are now in the process of creating a final set of drawings that will eventually go out to the bidders, to prospective bidders. There will also be a walkthrough once the bidders have made themselves known to them, so that they can see what they're bidding on and what the lay of the land is, so to speak, and what they're, you know, expecting to build. So we're looking forward to that, you know, getting some numbers back from the bidders. Christine, refresh my memory, when is the bidding going out, and then when is the bid opening days again?
The bid is going out on 4/22.
All right.
The walkthrough is 5/6 at 10 a.m. and the bids are due on 5/20 at 5:50 p.m. with an opening of 6 p.m.
Okay, so that's where we are. The project is moving along. We just signed the proposal. That was a permit I signed a few minutes ago, right, for New Chappaqua?
The building permit, yep.
Making some progress. Anybody else have any old business they want to talk about?
Maybe those dates could go up on the website.
Sure.
You know, that now the timeline is
Yeah.
ready,
Mhm.
put that out there, and I think it's also time to start updating the neighbors.
Yep.
So you don't have a problem when the first truck comes in.
Yeah, right. Okay, yeah, right.
Yeah, no.
Better not be. Bulldozers moving.
Just the other old business, I just really want to reiterate how important it is to attend sessions on the new OSHA legislation. You really need to understand what's being asked of every fire department, also EMS agencies, everybody's in it. So please attend those sessions whenever you can. Each time I'm attending because it's gonna affect our budget. And it also affects the members tremendously. So as that information comes along, Paul's been very good distributing it. Association of Fire Districts have also been distributing that. Please take the time to attend even part of something to learn what it's about.
And I'll do my best to help filter some of it, like when we were talking before about when we we're working on the closet. That particular webinar was useless. They spent the first hour talking about how great they are and why they're doing this instead of let's cut the brass tacks.
Is that
Now,
the
I am-
Association of Fire Chief one?
Yeah, I think that's.
Yeah, I thought that was a total waste of time.
I've actually been asking Barbara Carbone from Interstate. I've been sending her any of the links to the webinar so that she can continue being up to it. And I also just asked her while we were sitting here, if it's appropriate for her to send to us some type of an invoice for her time, because she has probably in the last month been either texting or emailing or speaking with me on the phone at least 10 or 12 hours. And, you know, granted, this is helping her because it's getting ahead of it, but she's being huge help for us. So if we do get an invoice, you know, I will obviously forward it right on, but I would fully endorse that we, you know, compensate her for this time for sure.
Because I think, as you pointed out a little while ago, that we're kind of ahead of the curve. We're doing good for where we are with respect to this stuff potentially coming down the pipe.
In some cases.
Yeah, in some cases. So I think with her on board and her awareness level, it's doing us ultimately
Yes.
good. So I think it's an extraordinary good thing that we compensate her for her time to help us stay ahead.
And I think one of the things we're gonna have to look at for 2025, like right now, we need equipment for the fitness center. We've had a lot that's been donated over the years, which has been terrific. Over the last couple of years, I've gotten permission to spend $1,000 here, $1,000 there that came out of the chief's discretionary fund, which fine, you know, that, but I think we do actually have to create for the 2025 budget a fitness line item. And I've been putting together some different things that should be included in that, from equipment to potential staffing or consultation from a certified fitness person. And how we can functional firefighter fitness. It sounds like a Dr. Seuss category, but you know, there's a bunch of different exercises that firefighters can do that simulate fireground activities that will actually help them be able to do an annual fitness assessment and things. And it's just going to help us be better firefighters. So.
And that was one of the questions that came up, was sharing those resources amongst multiple departments. So there are a lot of thoughts out there. That was a question, if that's even a viable option.
And we're lucky because we have our own fitness center that's available to us 24 hours a day. So we're not paying a Lifetime Fitness type of membership for members who can only go during this certain block of time. So when you talk to some of the surrounding departments that don't have gyms, you know, well, you know, we'll pay for memberships for people. Like, it's pretty expensive for something that's not being used. So I'm looking at different ways that we can track attendance in the fitness room. And I've asked the question, if a member can validate that they've participated in some type of a fitness program, maybe it's an aerobics class or a high intensity interval training, does that count to be able to keep our record and say, sure, you know, Dwight Smith, you know, ran 4 marathons this year and did the subsequent training for it. And is it an attestation, or do I have to provide visible proof if OSHA comes in because somebody got hurt? Well, what were they doing from a training? Well, here's their fire department training. Well, where's their physical fitness training to be able to pick, tick and tie? So I've got a lot of different irons in the fire with it. So I will, when I do get things that I think it's valuable for you folks either listen to or have representation attend, I'll continue sending it. But the Westchester Association of Chiefs, the Westchester Fire Districts have been very good with publishing information and getting out there. So I definitely encourage you to take advantage of it if you can.
Yeah, as you get that information, please continue forward, and it's appreciated. Okay, anything else? No old business? Okay, new business? No. Anybody have new business? Okay. Okay, Mr. Treasurer, you are on deck.
People with the floor support of the way of the
Business,
existence.
I need something.
New PT.
Just be careful of the cord, Mark.
Or the one that we're gonna build.
Can you just email it to me?
Okay.
Thank you.
I had asked the question if
I just like to save everything electronically.
current could support a static load of 1.5 or so.
So I'll try to keep the discussion to a minimum, but again, I might need about 10 minutes or so just to kind of go through some things. And so I'm not sure what the order or what the topics were that were previously discussed. So if I'm talking about things that are too much, just tell me too much, or if I'm not talking enough, just tell me that too. Still in kind of the transition of duties. Been trying to reduce the duplicate checks. And of course, not have any missing payments, but we've only had one duplicate check, and that was that's going to be used to put money towards an invoice, and then the balance will be put on account. It was $1,600, and so 13 goes for the bill and 300 went on account. So, so far, we've been able to manage that. So what you have in front of you is kind of, the documents that I kind of shown for an abstract or bills for the month, and then the second part, I'll talk about kind of a treasurer's report. So in terms of bills for the month, or the checks for the month, that's on the first page. The big item on there was to the village of Mount Kisco. So some of these might have been February bills that went into March, and some are March bills. But what you have is the major items on there. The amounts for Hogan and Rossi were attorney calls. BST was for the audits. Vector was for some online training, and the second one for BST was for the audit. So that's kind of statement number one. If you go to the second page, it's a profit and loss budget versus actual. So I loaded in the budget into QuickBooks, so at least we have those numbers in there, and I apologize for the font being so small. But it's January through March actuals, and then the budget as well. And just an over or under versus budget. So we're pretty much, on track in terms of expenditures. The other items, if you go to the next page, it's a showing of what our assets are. Principally, the balance sheet shows the cash and accounts. And again, I don't know the procedure for the online meeting, but whether I'm allowed to talk numbers or.
I don't know. that we-
In the past, she didn't say this.
So you can see what we have. And it's pretty much, in line with everything else. And shows some transfers that we had from prior accounts. The change on the next page on the balance sheet just shows that it went down because of that major item to the village. The profit and loss, again, on the next page shows what our interest is about, at market rates, and then the various expenses. And then last page is a year-to-date profit and loss through March, showing that we're on track. And then the very last page is kind of my first attempt at a commissioner's report. So not showing really the income, but just what the expenses are. And in looking at it, I would think that the chief would probably want to see what the budget is versus his actuals. But
Definitely.
yeah, so this is kind of a first shot at what a chief's report would be. And again, different chiefs like different things. So some, only want to see the operating expenses and the repairs and materials and supplies. They don't care about the workers' comp insurance or office expenses. So I'll work with you to see what you want, and then we can create anything.
Yeah, no, I mean, in a nutshell, basically just looking to what was budgeted and where I stand with regards to, because I try to make sure that I'm not saving everything till the end of the year, going to shopping spree. But throughout the course of the year, if a piece of equipment fails that I now need to juggle, okay, I can't buy that Blitz nozzle, I need to replace this. So that would really help me have a better idea of where I stand.
Okay.
And for next year's budget, maybe we can talk about the previous treasurer, it was of opinion with regards to the QuickBooks categories.
Right.
And there were items that were categorized together that from an operational perspective, we view them as separate, but from an accounting perspective, you can explain to me, I flunked accounting twice. It was after karate, I never went, but just to help me understand, like something that's an annual test that we have to do on everyone's mask, should that be included as part of turnout gear, or is that, should testing be part of physicals or something, things along those lines. But you and I can have a separate conversation to get up to speed with. I'll lay out what I'm looking for and you can let me know if it's feasible.
Okay, so these are the accounts on there. You just maybe cross off what you don't want, not now. But
Sure,
just wanna look at
definitely,
it.
yep.
May I just interrupt real quick before I lose my thought?
Yeah.
Do you guys have each other's contact info?
No.
I have
I
Mark's,
was-
I
yeah,
opt
yeah.
online. Do you have your district email yet or?
I do.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. I'll start using that. I'll send you a
Okay.
quick note and we'll
Yeah.
take it from there. And I'll actually send you what I send to the board every fall from a budget perspective, so you can see how I'm categorizing things. We can meet in the middle.
Okay.
And could you just, for the sake of continuity, can you keep Charlie in the loop on these things?
Oh, yeah,
These discussions?
yeah.
Okay, thanks.
So that's kind of a good segue into the next item that I want to talk about. So, what I notice is in the chart of accounts, there's 10 accounts. Other fire districts that I have 82 accounts. So 10 is probably too little, 82 is probably too much. So, Paul's point, work on expanding some of these so you don't lump everything under repairs and maintenance of trucks. So maybe we have, I'm making this up, see truck 123, 124, 125, 126. So you can see, as I do with another district, that, geez, we're spending an awful lot on, 125, what the heck's going on? We just replaced the tires a year ago. So I'll expand on that. And then in the capital account, same thing, right now, there was one line item for everything for the building, the new building. And so what I've been doing is I've been kind of legal fees, architectural fees, actual building costs, things like that. So instead of just everything into building. So I'm almost done with that, but I've gone back into the last year and year to date now and kind of moving some accounts that were in general into, legal, all the ones that, something like that. So that's, that was a good segue. The next item is I sent something on the invoice procedure. Looking to maybe, come here once a week. There's a folder set up with all the invoices there. So I don't get duplicates. I know get my month straight, in March, there were some checks written out by hand and some here. And so I had to kind of make sure I didn't pay them twice, Verizon, it looks like the same bill, but there's 2 Verizon bills. So
4.
yeah. So thinking that, as it is with other districts, there's a general folder where anything that comes in, either you pick it up in the mail or it comes in, that we have it. We also had a procedure where all invoices would be sent by paper. That if they want to send email, great. But they had to be by paper. With kind of the caveat that, if there's a certain vendor that, hey, they've always done it by email, don't alter this vendor or don't mess with this vendor. Can't we do it by email? Yeah, we can make an exception. But I'd like to get everything by paper. This way there's a good record for it. And in audits that I've had, of course, the auditors always want to see the paper. I don't want to keep looking for an email to say, oh, because it doesn't necessarily say what that invoice was for.
That's a good point. Paul brought up something earlier this evening, that there's a time critical payment that we make once in a while for some refreshment, water, hydration at fire scenes and work sessions and so on. So when you guys talk, Paul, can you update him on your preferences?
See, and really quick in a nutshell, Robin had wanted every invoice to come through her. Like there were some cases where Owen, who manages the mobile across the street, his milk vendor also sells water and Gatorade at a much cheaper price than WB Mason. So we would get water and Gatorade from him. But it's a mom and pop business. They hand an invoice, they want to check right away. So what we started to do, I just use write a check from the Chiefs fund. It's usually a $1 in, $1 out account, but there's a small cushion, enough that I could pay $150 every couple of months when water came in. Prior treasurer did not want that, wanted all invoices to go through her, and we ended up with a problem. Then it was a week, 10 days before a check would get cut to get to that vendor. And here we're messing with Owen's relationship with the vendor and that type of a thing. So I could either continue to pay for it out of the Chiefs fund. And as you saw in the email that I sent with my expenses with the photocopies of, because I scan it, I have the originals upstairs. If that's okay for you, that you still have the hard copy, I pay for it and you just reimburse the Chiefs fund. Again, these are the type of things that you and I can discuss to see what's going to work best for you. Because I also understand continuity is also important for you to make sure that you've got some uniformity with what we're doing and not just, oh, this guy sends an email to the chief and here's a hard copy and this vendor here and stuff like that. So, you know, I want to work with it to make it work best for you, so you're not going nuts and also not coming down here multiple times to cut checks to find out the best way to do it. So.
So just got a discussion about that. If I know ahead of time, if let's say, hey, Thursday, I'm gonna go over to pick up water and it's Monday, then I'll schedule to come here Thursday and make sure I get you the check and,
Okay.
you know, and do something like that. This way, you know, as long as it's not, I came here on Wednesday and, you know, you call me, you know, Thursday morning and say, you gotta come back and give me a check, you know, then, you know.
You know, anything that the membership orders, or I actually have a limited number of people who are allowed to order on behalf of the fire department.
Right.
They give me a heads up so that I know that it's coming. So that's a perfect scenario. He'll call the vendor. The guy will be bringing it, say Monday, you know, he gets deliveries Mondays and Thursdays, or so he delivers Monday, expects the check Thursday. That'll work out perfectly and we can coordinate for sure.
And just, you know, kind of on that, you know, my concern is, of course, you know, following, you know, the fire district, financial policies to make sure that all invoices are approved and, you know, so I'm not paying bills without approval. At some point, I think we talked about this earlier, at some point, we might want to have something which says, you know, any recurring invoices or emergency, you know, or things under $100, maybe can go with one signature. Again, I'm just throwing it out as an idea, but a Verizon bill, an Optum bill, a Con Ed bill, things that you know we get every month and we're going to pay. Maybe to think about that, we only need one signature on that. Again, I'm suggesting it. I'm not saying that we should do that, but you know, I'm concerned because, again, in a previous life, you know, I had a Verizon bill that I was waiting for the commissioner to sign. He was on vacation, whatever. And then it hit a billing period and we got whacked with a $30 late fee, you know, and, you know, just kind of avoiding that. So again, just something to think about, you know, out there, but maybe we put a dollar limit on there or a recurring, it's got to be a recurring. But again, I like having two signatures because it validates, you know, what I have as well. So we can kind of talk about that. But I think anything that comes in or that you get, if we just have a little folder set up where all those invoices go into, probably not out there because everybody can get to it, but maybe inside, and I'll be here once a week, you know, probably midweek or every Monday, whatever day, you know, works out. But I'll make sure it's once a week, at least we're only a week in advance.
If you want to look online or someplace and see what kind of a folder mechanism you like,
Yeah.
you know, we can certainly order that.
It could be even just like a yellow folder sitting on
Is that
that
all you
table
want?
over
Okay,
there.
fine.
You
We've
know?
got saws. We can cut you a mail slot. No problem.
Yeah, there was like a wall caddy.
Yeah.
You
There
know,
were two here on the
Yeah.
wall, but
Yeah.
I think they're gone now.
Okay.
Something like that.
yeah, that's fine.
Whatever you think you need.
Okay. The next item is the training stipend. I don't know if we already talked about that, so I apologize if we already did, but the FASNY.
We've just barely touched on it as part of the
Okay.
thing coming down.
Okay, so that was in the last, it was actually in the legal section under the FASNY publication where anyone who took training after August 20,
Right, who completed
20
after August.
after
30th
August of 2023 to now can get 500 or 750 or 1,000, depending on what training it was. And it's by the state, so it's not, you know,
Well, there's a caveat there. For firefighter one, which is broken up into two modules, you get for BFO, which is exterior 750, for interior 1250, for a total of $2,000 for completing firefighter one. Fire officer one might be 1250 or 750. It's not quite the same, but 500 would be payable by the fire district's basis for any state course a firefighter takes, but they haven't finalized the rules on that
Right,
yet.
right.
And one of the things that Nancy and I have been discussing is that for the firefighter one people, if it's particular, we want to set a time frame that, great, you finish firefighter one on February 1st, you're not getting a check on February 2nd. 6 months later, show me you're a firefighter in good standing, you've made calls, you've made drills, then great. You didn't come here just for the $2,000, so to speak.
Yeah.
For the 500, I'm looking at writing a policy for a tiered structure. You know, a firefighter who sits in fire officer one listens to 18 hours of droning as opposed to a firefighter who's taking fast and doing 18 hours of hauling people around, pulling them around. That shouldn't be, in my mind, the same $500. So we have the latitude. The ceiling is $500, but we can actually decide class by class. But then we just have to be consistent. So everybody who takes fire officer one, or the bad example, because that's a state one, everyone who takes introduction to window washing offered by New York State gets $250. Everyone who takes fast and successfully completes it could get $500. But that's kind of where my thought process is. I've got a little time because they haven't finalized the rules with that yet, but I had a good conversation with Lucy Labriola, used to be the chief in Armonk, who now runs training for OFPC. You know, and she really explained that that was their thought process behind it. And also by putting the cap on it, it doesn't give us, oh, Chappaqua is paying $2,000 for this class, I'm going to join Chappaqua, and you start draining surrounding districts. So definitely is hot on the topic. We have submitted one of our members who did complete firefighter one. We did it right away because from when he completed it to when it was at, he's been tremendous. Every drill we've got, he's there, he's eager to learn. So it was, and also it was a great way to kind of jumpstart the program for us. So I'm just waiting to hear from him if he gets it from the state, but they do have to fill out a W-4, no, a W-9. So it is taxable for them because it is considered income. So, and I think that's where they're working on the fire districts. That's another thing. We're going to have to increase the training budget for 2025 to some type of a number to entice people to take courses, but also be ready for the people that do. Because part of the OSHA mandates, there's a lot of classes people who want to be an officer are going to have to take. I mean, they want a fire chief to have fire officer 4, which currently fire officer 3 and fire officer 4 are only offered at the State Academy of Montour Falls. So you're now looking at a situation where you've got a person who needs to take off from work to go live at Montour Falls to take these courses in some cases. So it is, you know, the changes, that's why it's not being overly dramatic. The changes that OSHA are looking to impart are pretty substantial.
Let's see, next item, the bank authorization, we completed that. I had to go down to the bank to get the last statements, but hopefully the April statement will come in quicker. Purchase orders, we have a kind of a process in place to take care of purchase orders. So
Worked well, I did it today, and I'm gonna be hitting you up for another one.
okay. Post office, we kind of went through that with the keys, so that's going good. We've been missing each other to get sworn in with the town because they were, apparently when one goes on vacation, they both go on vacation, so I don't know.
You have to go before the 21st.
Before the 21st. Okay.
Sunday.
Are they both in, or is one of them in before the 21st?
I mean, the fact that they are both out at the same time seems crazy to me.
Is there only those two people can do it?
I mean, I can do it as a notary.
And one of the commissioners do it, I'm a notary too. We can
Yeah.
do it.
Or you have to be in the club?
Yeah.
It can be.
It's just,
or
it has to be within 30 days of taking office.
Yeah, you can have a receipt. We can do a receipt for you.
Before Sunday.
I can do it.
Here's the flag, and here's the note.
All right.
If you want to raise your
Yeah.
right hand, I can swear you in. I know it by heart.
One item that came up. One item that came up today, apparently we bounced a check. To Lazo and there's a lot of money in that account. And I think it might be that they didn't like the signatures, saying,
They didn't call me about that.
yeah, because there's, without saying how much there's in that account,
Yeah.
there's a lot
Okay,
in that account.
I'd have to cover the check.
So I know,
Was it the one that was from earlier, the first or the second check?
second check.
Was it printed?
Because the first check was held up in positive pay. And then that was released.
No.
So this was the second one. Okay.
No, it was,
They
a-
called me about one and I okayed it and it went through. I think I had you and maybe even Charlie on the phone at the same
Yeah.
time.
Charles not gonna be happy.
Wow.
No, he's the one that called me, but he's tied up right now, but yeah,
Well,
and neither is that vendor.
I'm glad he's not
But-
up now, because I'm sure he'd be around my neck right now. The vouchers for, February, March, and April, vouchers, the invoices, are all here, so I think it's just March that just need to get approval on. And then there's 4 checks that I just need a second signature on. I guess the last thing is the annual financial report. So I've been kind of in communication with the auditor, and he's like, look, I sent it to you, I sent it to you, I sent it to you. And it's like, well, I'm not getting it. Well, we sent it to Robin. So, so I have to call New York State to say, yeah, I'm okay to get it.
But your email should be, her email should be forwarded to yours. It should be getting through to
I
you.
should, yeah. But so that's gonna be, once that's done, then the AFR will be done for 2023.
Okay.
So we should be all set.
Are we gonna have a problem being that it's late? This approval or this certification?
No, because, well, we'll probably get a slap on the wrist. I mean, they just finally approved, the AFR for one other district that I have, about 2 weeks ago. So, technically, you know, they fully approve it when you have your audited financials. I mean, that's when they like it, it's all done and everything else. So the fact that we already have the audited financials, just a signature change shouldn't be an issue. But I'll be in contact with them. And that's all I have.
I have just one question. On the items that come in, equipment, et cetera, you want the packing slips annotated on the date that a certain item was received, or how do you like that done?
I don't, what I'd like to have is I like to have the purchase order, packing slip, and then the invoice. I mean, that's really nice
Have the whole
for an
thing?
audit,
Okay.
you know, but if not, definitely, you know, just the invoice, if I don't have the packing slip or the pick slip, that's okay.
Yeah.
But whoever received it, just, you know, whoever approves the invoice, it'd be nice that they say, yeah, we received it on this date and this way we have it.
Okay.
And when I normally submit my expenses, I used to parenthetically next to each item, put which line item, which budget item I thought it would be applicable against.
Right.
We do the same thing for you.
Yeah, that would be great.
Everything goes against trucks.
Anybody have any questions for the treasurer? No. Okay, thank you very much for everything. And before we leave, I guess we need a couple of signatures then. If you want to hand them over.
Yes.
Do you have to vote on his March report?
Yes, okay. I don't have just a phone signature on it.
So we voted on the expenses that had been processed before Mark started.
Right.
So I think we should just, that is included in what he's proposing tonight. So I think we can just.
Okay.
So he proposed 151,057 and 74 cents.
Not following that.
His March expense report was 151,000, right?
Yep.
057 and 74 cents. So I think we should just vote.
Okay, so, because I don't have it in front of me here. I don't even know where it is. It's right there. Is this it? Is it? That's it. Okay. Got it. Okay, so,
And if you look at the expenses on there, we had paid everything up until March 21, and I think Mark just wrapped it up into a nice neat package, right?
okay. All right, so, does anybody have any questions about this March 24 transaction detail by account that Mark has given us tonight? Anybody have a chance to look at it? I just have a couple of, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say is, I don't know what was provided previously. So if you want a different report or a different format or something else.
Yeah,
It looked like this.
It did, okay.
No, but I haven't seen it.
The previous treasurer just did basically up until the date of today.
Oh,
But if you want to just end it, I think it's cleaner to end it at the end of the month and then just do the new month.
Yeah.
personally.
Yeah, I kind of like that idea too. Anybody have any questions? Would anybody like to make a motion that we approve the transaction detail and Mark's report?
I would just say one comment, that Mount Kisco protection for 100,000, whatever.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like that long ago, I recall it being 85,000. It's really gone up.
Remember when,
Really gone up.
Mike had to go to them and talk to them about how they figured this price out? And based upon his discussion with them, this was a legitimate number based on some percentage that was added in.
Right.
So it's,
I know they made some errors on the
Yeah.
cost of the addition.
Right.
What it really went up.
It went up.
They need the sunshines, PLC.
Mark, I have just a couple of questions. On a few of these, you have checkbox next to them. On the
Right.
first page. What does that represent?
That was the ones that I went through when I was talking.
That's it. Okay.
Yeah, I just, they were, significant, so
Right.
I
All right, good. I would like to, at some point, figure out why we have so many Verizon bills. I mean, I can understand downtown and here. Chief, do you have Verizon, cell phones that anybody's using in the chief staff?
No, you like to reimburse me for my AT&T something.
Well, Nextel is live. and
Yeah.
We used to do that.
That's why Charlie and Frankie Nestro had some numbers.
Well,
Um,
night, basically.
there is a FiOS box in the chief's office.
Maybe that's another bill.
I believe there's FiOS in the volunteers room and Cablevision or
Yeah, yeah.
Optimal.
So you think they're separate accounts?
And
maybe?
then down at Center Street. Gotta look and see at the boxes. I don't know if they're both Cablevision or if it's also one and one.
Okay.
That could be another reason.
I see what appears to me is 4 different Verizon bills.
I think it also was, there was a lag where some of them were late.
No, well, yeah, maybe that's the case, but I've seen this for a year or more.
Mhm.
These multiple Verizon bills coming through. And same thing with Con Ed. I can sort of understand it. We got multiple.
Do the Verizon
Water
bills
bills
have a
too.
phone number on them?
They do.
I don't have them here.
Okay.
They do, because I looked at them myself, trying to make sense of what was what, and they
I
did
think we
have
to
phone
talk to
numbers
the
on
water
them.
department As well, because I think we're getting something like 3 water bills or something,
Mhm.
which didn't make any sense. I mean, maybe we're. maybe we just didn't
You must
close that
have
account next
3
quarter.
meters.
Well, they may have not closed that account, they've just been paying the minimum.
Right.
There's no account for the other.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, so we're gonna have to work on that. We'll talk with you and we'll talk with the town and so on. Okay, so may I have a motion on Mark's, very nice looking, report?
I'll make the motion to approve the March 2024.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Let's see. Public comments.
I just have a couple brief ones. I know Paul just mentioned about the physical fitness equipment. I know an original plans was second story on the new addition. There was a room designated at one point for a PT room. I wonder if that floor is strong enough to accommodate heavyweight
I
equipment.
think we brought that up maybe 2 months ago to Pete, I think, but we'll have to revisit that.
Yeah, 'cause I think the original plans, there was a fitness center, if I remember on the plans. Where the chiefs and officers' office was, that was actually, set to be the fitness center. Then when we stripped out the plans for the second floor, then there was discussion that the fitness center would get moved to what's the current big room. Kind of wall off
Mhm.
3/4 of it. And I had raised the question to Commissioner Murphy at the time, have we tested that floor to see if it can hold the static load? We've got probably 2,500 to 3,000 pounds of weights between plates and dumbbells and kettlebells. And it's one thing when we've got a room full of people, that's not a static load just sitting in one corner of the floor. And I think that's where it came from. I don't know if an answer was ever provided or if they engineered it to look and see. But as I tried explaining to Brian at the time, it's not just how much weight the floor can hold, but it was a static load because it's just going to be sitting for the majority of the day. And also too, weights get dropped.
So two things. I think we have a set of plans for the addition that was built in 1975, 76. And second of all, I know we have a file or had a file in the office with photographs of the construction. It showed all the truss construction for the second story and how that was built. So there should be plenty of information available on that. Just the second point is, well, if you can find out, I don't remember when Garson was trying to buy that property, but it was a short time after he bought the property that he did approach the board. And if I can get a general date on that, I'll see if I can follow up and find the minutes. As I said, I know there was a lengthy discussion. And the last point is,
It used to be the Garson brothers, but it's now just one brother. running
Stafford or the other guy?
Stafford's running the business, yeah.
and the other thing is, can somebody tell me where I can find the old archives minutes? Like 2016, 17, 18, 19, or 20? Are they available anywhere?
Anything that I had is on the website. I don't know what existed before
It only
me.
goes up to 2021.
Basement.
We had.
Yeah, I don't know where the archive is, to be perfectly honest. I've never,
Before Christine had a computer, I'm trying to remember, she brought it all back. I don't know if it's in the other, have you seen a computer in the other room?
No.
Okay, so it may be in a box.
I can't do it right now because my screen is
So that's
shared,
what I understand.
but I will,
I'm just saying, At some point, if we can figure out where those are.
Yeah.
You know.
yeah, whatever I found, I put on the website. Anything outside of that, I don't know where it was maintained before that
Okay,
point.
all right.
Okay, so that'll be an action item.
But yes, there should be minute books somewhere with this information.
Yeah, there should be.
I thought, honestly, I thought it had a lot copies of a lot of stuff.
And if there are historical documents that people have, we can certainly put them on
I have
there.
a lot of other stuff. in
They
there.
could be in the basement.
Hmm.
So,
Thank you.
So minutes prior to what time frame? I mean, I started in 2021 at the end of the year.
Well, probably, I think the website starts in January 2021.
Hmm.
I was wondering if we can backtrack. that.
Yeah, that, I think that's all that I had, but
oh, it's Bosby.
Yeah.
obviously, anything that existed before
It's just
should.
an archive type of thing.
The auditor should have that too.
The minutes.
What, yeah,
Yeah, we need year by
Okay.
year.
So we can reach out to them.
Okay,
All right,
thanks.
sounds good. Anything else? Okay, nobody else? Do we have any comments? I guess we don't have anything on email, right, Christine?
Mm-mm.
Okay, good one. Okay. Okay, future dates. A project work session will be held Monday, May 13th at 6 p.m. The next
That would
break.
be a special
But
meeting.
yeah,
Yeah.
we're gonna change that. We also are going to have one this coming Tuesday, right?
Yes.
What day is that?
April 23rd.
And that's gonna be at 6 p.m. Okay, special meeting. The next regular meeting is scheduled for Thursday, May 16th at 2024 at 7 p.m. With a work session now going to be called a special session, beginning at 6:30 p.m. Email any questions and concerns for the board's consideration for any meeting to BOFC@NCFD, the numeral 1.org. And I think that concludes the minutes of the meeting. Anybody want to make a motion?
I make a motion, we adjourn the meeting.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Thank you all. Thank you, Christine.